Most people ask the wrong question about electric motorhomes. They ask, how far can it drive? But here is what 40 years of Americans living on the road has actually taught us. Range is not what forces you to move. It is not what strands you in the desert. It is not what turns an independent retirement into a dependent one. And it is not what separates a vehicle that functions as a real home from one that just looks like one in a YouTube video. The question that actually matters is this: what happens after you stop? Because the moment a motorhome becomes your permanent address, 4 systems decide everything about your life. Not the engine, not the price tag, not how it looks parked in front of a red rock formation in Sedona. Water, waste, electricity, and weight. If any one of those 4 systems is misunderstood before you make a decision, the consequences don't arrive on day 1. They arrive on day 43, when the tanks are full and the water is gone, and the nearest town is 30 miles behind you. That is what we are going to cover today. All 4 systems, real numbers, no softening. Before we go further, as of March 2026, no Tesla motorhome has been officially announced. Do not send money or deposits to anyone claiming otherwise. That is a scam. I am here to give you the analysis, not sell you anything. Stay with me.
What living in a motorhome actually means. Let me start with something that sounds obvious, but almost no one says out loud. A house relies on infrastructure that exists outside its walls. City water comes in through a pipe. Sewage leaves through another pipe. Electricity arrives through a line from a utility company. Trash disappears once a week. You never think about any of it. It just works. A motorhome carries every one of those systems inside the vehicle. The water supply, the waste storage, the power generation, all of it travels with you in tanks and batteries and panels bolted to the frame. And here is what that means in practice. When any one of those systems reaches its limit, the home stops functioning, no matter how beautiful the view is outside the window. This is not a theoretical concern. This is the daily reality of RV living that millions of Americans already manage. And understanding it is the difference between a retirement that works and one that quietly falls apart. Traditional RV owners learn this on their first or second trip. Most electric motorhome reviewers who spend 3 days in a vehicle and call it a test never learn it at all. You deserve to understand these systems before anyone asks for your money, so let's go through them one by one.
The water system. The clock that is always running. Every motorhome has a fresh water tank. That tank is the clock. From the moment you leave a water hookup, the clock starts. Every shower, every meal cooked, every glass of drinking water, every toilet flush, it all draws from that tank. And when the tank reaches empty, the vehicle must move, regardless of where you are. Regardless of what it costs to get somewhere with water. Here are the actual numbers in American motorhomes today. A Class A motorhome, the large bus-style vehicle, carries a fresh water tank of 75 to 100 gallons. A Class C motorhome carries 35 to 60 gallons. A Class B camper van carries 20 to 40 gallons. A couple living and cooking normally uses 8 to 12 gallons of water per day, drinking, cooking, dishes, showers, toilet use. If you are conservative, short showers, minimal dishwashing, you might stretch that to 7 gallons. If you are not thinking about it, you might use 14. Do the math on a Class A with a full 100-gallon tank. At 10 gallons per day for 2 people, you have 10 days before the water is gone. At a Class C's 50 gallons, that is 5 days. At a Class B's 30 gallons, you are looking at 3 days before you move or find a water source. Now, what does this mean for a Tesla-based electric motorhome? An electric motorhome built around the Tesla Semi platform would face the same water physics as every other RV on the road. Water weighs 8.3 pounds per gallon. A 100-gallon fresh tank adds 830 pounds to the vehicle before you fill it with food, clothing, tools, and 2 people. Engineers designing this vehicle must choose larger water capacity or lighter overall weight for better electric range. They cannot fully have both. The tank size in the base model will reflect that compromise, and understanding it tells you exactly how far you can travel from a water source before you must resupply. Water, not electricity, not charging. Water is the first thing that moves you.
The waste system, the other half of the clock. There is a second clock running alongside the freshwater tank. Every gallon of water that enters the motorhome eventually becomes wastewater, and that wastewater goes into one of 2 holding tanks. Gray water is everything from the shower drain, the kitchen sink, and the bathroom sink. Clean enough to handle, but it must be stored and disposed of properly. In American motorhomes, gray tanks typically hold 40 to 65 gallons in a Class A, 31 to 60 gallons in a Class C. Black water is what comes from the toilet. This tank is smaller, 31 to 51 gallons in a Class A, 27 to 63 gallons in a Class C, and it fills faster than most first-time RV owners expect. Here is the practical reality. Gray water fills faster than fresh water depletes. Why? Because shower water and dishwater add up faster than you realize when you are not connected to a drain that disappears into a city sewer system. Many experienced RVers find their gray tank is the first system that forces a move, not the fresh water, not the power. Waste must be emptied at dump stations. The United States has thousands of them at RV parks, campgrounds, Pilot and Flying J truck stops, rest areas, and dedicated public stations. For a traditional diesel motorhome, this is a standard part of travel planning. For an electric motorhome, nothing changes. The waste system is identical. The electric drivetrain has no bearing whatsoever on how gray and black tanks work or where they must be emptied. That is actually good news. The existing dump station infrastructure in America, built over 50 years of RV travel, works just as well for an electric motorhome as it does for a diesel one. That is one system where the technology transition costs you nothing.
Solar power, what it actually does and what it doesn't. This is where the electric motorhome changes the equation, partially. A Tesla-based motorhome is expected to carry an integrated rooftop solar array. Based on what is technically feasible and consistent with Tesla's existing solar roof and Powerwall products, an estimated 2 to 3 kilowatt-hours of rooftop solar capacity is realistic on a vehicle this size. On a clear day in a high-sun region, Arizona, New Mexico, Southern California, Florida, a 2-kilowatt array produces 10 to 14 kilowatt-hours of electricity. That is real, usable energy. What does 10 to 14 kilowatt-hours actually power? Your LED lighting, roughly 0.5 kilowatt-hours per day. Your refrigerator running continuously, 1 to 2 kilowatt-hours per day. Your electronics, phone charging, laptop, another 0.5 to 1 kilowatt-hour. Ventilation and small fans, 0.3 to 0.5 kilowatt-hours. Total for daily living systems, not including air conditioning, approximately 3 to 4 kilowatt-hours per day. On a sunny day in the Southwest, the solar roof covers your living systems with energy to spare. You are not drawing from the driving battery to power your refrigerator. You are not paying for electricity. The sun is handling it. But here is the clarification that almost no reviewer states clearly enough. Solar does not meaningfully recharge the driving battery. A 200 kilowatt-hour driving battery requires 200 kilowatt-hours to fully charge from empty. At 12 kilowatt-hours of daily solar production,
Fully charging the driving battery from a 10% state of charge would take more than 15 days of uninterrupted Arizona sunshine. Solar extends your independence at a campsite. Solar maintains your living systems between plug-in charges. Solar is genuinely useful, and in sunny climates, it is financially significant over time. But solar is not a charging solution for the drivetrain. Campground hookups and megacharger stations handle that job. The solar roof handles everything else. That distinction matters enormously. Confuse the two, and you will make a very expensive planning error.
The winter and mountain problem. Solar's real limits. Solar production is not constant, and for a retiree planning to travel year-round, this matters. In winter, daylight hours shorten. The sun angle drops lower in the sky, reducing the intensity of light hitting the panels. In northern states during December and January, a 2-kilowatt solar array that produces 12 kilowatt-hours on a July afternoon in Phoenix might produce 4 to 6 kilowatt-hours on a January afternoon in Oregon, a reduction of 50 to 70%. In mountainous regions, the problem compounds. Trees block morning and afternoon sun. Canyon walls create shade for hours each day. Valley floors receive direct sunlight for only a portion of the day, even in summer. What this means practically, a retiree spending winters in Florida or Arizona can genuinely rely on solar to cover most daily living energy costs. A retiree spending October through March in the Pacific Northwest, the Rockies, or the Upper Midwest cannot. The solar roof is a genuine financial advantage in the Sun Belt. Outside of it, and outside of summer months, it is a supplement, not a solution. For those seasons and those regions, campground 50-amp hookups remain the primary charging method, and, as covered in the previous video, most established RV parks across America already provide exactly that infrastructure. The weight problem, the one nobody explains. There is a fourth system that determines whether an electric motorhome can function as a full-time home, and it is the one that almost no reviewer in any format on any platform takes the time to explain clearly. Weight. Every motorhome has a maximum payload capacity. That number, set by the chassis engineer, not the interior designer, defines the total weight the vehicle can safely carry above its base curb weight. Passengers, water, food, tools, clothing, furniture, and in an electric motorhome, the battery pack. Now here is where the numbers become critical. A 200 kilowatt-hour battery pack, estimated for the Tesla motorhome configuration, weighs approximately 1,200 to 1,600 pounds based on current lithium-ion energy density of roughly 5 to 7 kilograms per kilowatt-hour. Tesla's own 100 kilowatt-hour Model S battery pack weighs approximately 1,200 pounds as a reference point. Scale that for 200 kilowatt-hours, and you are carrying 1,400 to 1,800 pounds of battery before a single gallon of water is on board. Add a full 100-gallon fresh water tank, 830 pounds. Add 2 passengers at 175 pounds each, 350 pounds. Add basic supplies, clothing, tools, food for 2 weeks, 400 to 600 pounds. Total added weight above the chassis is 3,000 to 3,600 pounds before a single piece of furniture or appliance is counted. The engineering team building this vehicle must balance that weight against the structural limits of the semi-platform, which was designed to carry freight, not serve as a residential space with a living room, kitchen, and bathroom. What happens when a vehicle carries too much weight? Tire wear accelerates, braking distances extend, suspension components fail earlier than their designed service life. Fuel, or in this case electricity consumption per mile, increases as the drivetrain works harder against the added mass.
For someone on a fixed income, unexpected repair bills are not an inconvenience, they are a threat to financial independence. A vehicle that wears its components faster than expected does not announce that in the brochure. The weight balance is the engineering challenge that separates a Tesla motorhome that works for 10 years from one that begins showing problems in year 3. It is the number to ask about when official specifications are eventually published, and the number to verify against real-world owner reports before you commit to anything.
The lifestyle that resolves most of these constraints. Here is the honest synthesis of everything we have covered. The 4 systems, water, waste, solar, weight, are not deal breakers for a specific kind of retirement lifestyle. They are perfectly manageable for the slow, intentional travel pattern that most retirees actually want. Drive 120 to 150 miles, find a location worth staying in for 4 to 7 days, plug into the campground's 50-amp hookup on the first night to top up the driving battery, let the solar roof handle daily living energy while you are parked, manage water consumption at roughly 8 to 10 gallons per day for 2 people, plan a water resupply or dump station stop into your route before the tanks approach their limits, not after. This is not a complicated system. It is the system that millions of American RV travelers already use. It is the system the electric motorhome is designed to operate within. The people for whom this vehicle will not work are those who expect it to behave like a car that also happens to have a bedroom in the back. Drive 300 miles today, park somewhere random, drive again tomorrow. That expectation, applied to a 200 kilowatt-hour battery with limited megacharger access, will produce exactly the frustrations that make for angry comment sections. The people for whom this vehicle will work are those who understand that the lifestyle and the technology were designed for each other, and who plan accordingly.
3 conclusions. No softening. I said at the beginning you would get real numbers and honest conclusions. Here they are. First, an electric motorhome uses the exact same water and waste systems as every diesel RV already on American roads. The existing infrastructure of water hookups and dump stations, built over 50 years of RV travel, works for this vehicle without modification. That infrastructure is not a gap, it is an advantage. Second, rooftop solar genuinely extends off-grid independence and eliminates a meaningful portion of daily energy costs, particularly in sunny climates and warm seasons. It does not replace grid charging for the driving battery. Understanding that distinction is not optional. Third, water capacity, not electricity, is the primary constraint on off-grid stay duration. For a couple using 8 to 10 gallons per day, even a large 100-gallon fresh tank provides 8 to 10 days of independence. The gray waste tank often fills before the fresh water runs out. Both systems require planning. Both systems are manageable. Neither system is a reason to walk away from the technology, but both will surprise you if you never thought about them before the purchase.
Here is the bottom line. The questions people ask about electric motorhomes are usually about charging and range. Those are legitimate questions, but they are the first questions, not the most important ones. The most important question for a retiree considering full-time mobile living is simpler and more personal than any charging map or battery specification. Can this vehicle support a dignified life, day after day, week after week, without breaking down, running dry, or quietly draining the savings you spent 40 years building? The answer, based on the systems we covered today, is yes, if you understand what you're working with before you commit. Water, waste, solar, weight, these are not obstacles, they are parameters, and parameters, once understood, become part of a plan instead of the cause of a crisis. 2 questions before you go, and I read every single comment personally. First, of the 4 systems we covered today,
Water, waste, solar, and weight. Which one surprised you most? Which one had you not thought about before this video? Tell me in the comments. One sentence. Those responses directly shape what this channel covers next. Second, based on what you now know, does the full-time mobile retirement lifestyle sound like something that fits how you want to live? Or does it raise a concern you hadn't considered before today? Tell me specifically, because the next video in this series addresses exactly that. What happens when something in one of these systems breaks, what repairs cost on an electric platform versus a diesel one, and what that difference means for a retiree who cannot afford to be surprised. Subscribe and turn on the bell. This channel does not manufacture excitement. It does not chase what is trending. It exists to give you the honest analysis, the real numbers, the real trade-offs, and the real limitations before you make a decision that affects every day of the retirement you worked a lifetime to reach. No hype, no sales pitch, no agenda, except the truth. Next video. An electric motorhome breaks down on a Wednesday afternoon in rural New Mexico. What happens next? How does that compare to a diesel breakdown on the same road? And which vehicle leaves a retiree more or less dependent on a stranger's help to get moving again? The answer is not what most people expect, and it is the conversation this channel was built to have. Make sure you're here for it. I'll see you in the next one.